Usually when you travel to a new place, you expect things to just make sense in a normal, organized way. Like you expect paved roads, clear street signs, a normal city skyline.
Right, the usual stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But then you land and you look out at this vast desert and you realize you're actually standing at the bottom of a dead ocean.
It completely changes how you think about time and space. That's really the magic of this part of the world.
It really is. So welcome to our deep dive. Today we are taking you right into the beautiful, wild, and kind of chaotic heart of Mongolia.
It is definitely wild.
Oh, for sure. We're calling this session Episode 1, The Adventure Begins. And we are focusing purely on your first 2 days of the trip. So we'll take you from landing in the capital city of Ulaanbaatar on day 1, all the way to driving out into the endless, completely empty steppe on day 2.
Right, heading out to the Sagan-Savraga cliffs. It's a huge contrast.
It's huge. So let's start right at the airport. You step off the plane at Genghis Khan International Airport. You're tired, you have your bags, but before you can actually start having fun, you had to do some basic survival stuff, right? Like getting phone data and cash.
Yeah, the modern essentials.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty easy. You just find a kiosk for a local phone company. There's one called Unitel.
Right.
You wait in a short line, and you buy a simple 10-day SIM card package. So, boom, you have internet. Then they just walk over to the currency exchange and trade your US dollars or euros for the local money, which is called the Mongolian tugrik.
The tugrik, got it. So once your phone is working and you have your tugrik, you get into a car to drive to the city center. And this is where your brain gets its first real shock.
Oh, yeah, the traffic.
The traffic is completely chaotic. I was reading through our sources, and I actually had to stop and reread the part about the cars.
Just the steering wheels, right.
Yes. So you look out the window, and the car next to you has the steering wheel on the left side, which is normal if you're from America or most of Europe. But then the car on the other side of you has the steering wheel on the right side, like in Japan or the UK.
Right, it's a total mix.
They're all driving on the exact same side of the road, but the drivers are sitting on opposite sides of their own cars. I mean, how does that not cause a million crashes every single day?
It looks really scary at first, I know. But the reason behind it is just pure economics. Mongolia doesn't really build its own cars, so they bring in used cars from other countries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so many people buy these really reliable, cheap used cars from Japan, and those have the steering wheel on the right. But other people buy used cars from South Korea or Europe, and those have the wheel on the left. And the government just allows both.
So the roads are just this crazy, unregulated mix of absolutely everything.
Exactly. But the drivers are just incredibly adaptable. They just, they learn to expect the blind spots of the other cars. It works for them. And honestly, it's the perfect introduction to Ulaanbaatar, or UB, as the locals call it. It's a city that just figures out how to make things work no matter how messy it might look on the outside.
UB. I like that. So you survive the drive, and you eventually make it to your hostel right in the center of UB. And the vibe of this city is just intense.
Very intense.
It's dusty, it's loud, the sidewalks are completely packed with people. I mean, Mongolia has a total population of around 3 million people. But out of those 3 million, 1.5 million live right here in this one city.
Yeah, literally half of the entire country's population, just squeezed into this one single valley right along a river.
And walking around, it feels like being in a time machine that got stuck in modern traffic. You'll see older people walking by in these beautiful traditional nomadic robes going to ancient Buddhist temples.
Right.
But then they're standing right next to teenagers, wearing modern street clothes, drinking iced lattes, looking at their smartphones. It's such a crazy mix.
It really is.
But I do have a question about the environment there, because the notes say it's quite dusty and smoky. Why did they build a capital city in a place like that?
Well, geography is really the key to understanding UB. It's actually the coldest capital city in the entire world.
The coldest in the world? Wow.
Yeah, in the winter, the temperature easily drops down to minus 40 degrees. And because the city is sitting deep inside a valley with high mountains all around it, it creates this thing called a temperature inversion.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly? The cold air acts differently.
Exactly. Cold air is very heavy, so it sinks down into the bowl of the valley, and it acts like a giant, heavy lid.
Ah, I see.
And during those freezing winter months, you have hundreds of thousands of people living in these tent districts around the edge of the city, and they burn raw coal just to stay warm.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of smoke.
Right. So all that thick coal smoke, plus the exhaust from the cars and the dust from the dry ground, all of it gets trapped right under that lid of heavy, cold air. The mountains stop the wind from blowing it away.
So it just sits there.
Yeah, it just sits there. And that's what gives the city that very raw, kind of gritty feeling.
That really paints a vivid picture. So, okay, after dropping your bags at the hostel, you have the afternoon to explore the city. And the first stop is pretty much impossible to miss. It's Sukbatar Square.
Oh, yeah, you have to see the square.
It's this massive, wide-open public plaza right in the middle of everything. And dominating the whole space is this giant, really intimidating statue of Genghis Khan.
Yeah, he's just sitting there on this massive throne, looking out over all the traffic and the people, and he has statues of his son and his grandson right next to him.
His face and his name are just everywhere in this country. I mean, you landed in an airport named after him, and now he owns the main city square.
Right.
To someone visiting from the outside, Genghis Khan is mostly just, a historical conqueror from 800 years ago.
Yeah.
You read about him in history books, but how do the locals actually view him today? Is he just a tourist attraction for them?
Oh, no, it goes way deeper than that. For the Mongolian people, Genghis Khan is not just some guy from a history book. He is the unifying father of their entire nation.
The father of the nation?
Exactly. Before him, the land was just full of these divided, warring, nomadic tribes. They were always fighting each other, but he brought them all together. He united them and built the largest connected land empire in human history. I mean, it stretched from Asia all the way deep into Europe.
That's incredible when you think about it.
It really is. And, over the centuries, Mongolia was controlled by other empires or heavily influenced by the Soviet Union. So today, modern Mongolians look to Genghis Khan as their ultimate symbol of independence. He represents their strength and their unique cultural identity.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
He's the symbol of their survival as a people.
He really is. And speaking of survival, if you want to understand the more recent history of how their culture survived, you have to visit the Bogd Khan Winter Palace.
Oh, right. The notes mention this. It was the home of the last religious king of Mongolia.
Yes, the Bogd Khan.
And the architecture is so interesting. It's this beautiful mix of European design, but with those traditional Asian curved roofs.
Yeah, it's a really unique style.
But the thing that really surprised me in our sources, it's that this palace is one of the very few historical sites left standing in the whole city. What happened to all the other old buildings?
Yeah, this is a pretty dark but really important part of their history. So back in the 1930s, Mongolia was heavily controlled by the Soviet Union.
Right.
And the communist government at the time launched these massive cultural purges. They literally destroyed hundreds of ancient Buddhist temples and monasteries all across the country. They wiped out so much history.
That's terrible. So
Yeah.
why did this one specific winter palace survive all that destruction?
It's honestly partly a miracle and partly just practical thinking by the government. They
Yeah.
decided to save this one palace complex and turn it into a national museum.
museum.
Yeah, they needed a place to store all the art and the artifacts that they stole from the other temples before they destroyed them, so they put them in the Winter Palace.
Wow, so they saved it just to use it as a storage unit, basically.
Pretty much. So today, it serves as this incredibly rare physical window into a royal past that was almost completely erased. It's very special.
That's a really powerful place to visit. And, seeing all this history, walking around the city, maybe climbing all those stairs at Zaysan Memorial Hill to get a view of the city, it really takes a lot of energy.
Oh, you burn a lot of calories exploring UB.
You really do. Which brings us to dinner. And this is where my modern understanding of a healthy diet just completely hit a wall.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
So you sit down at this famous restaurant called Ike Mongol, and you order traditional food. But the Mongolian diet is, well, it's incredibly unique.
It really is. It's basically entirely meat, heavy dough, and dairy.
Yes. You start with a dish called booze, and these are steamed meat dumplings, but they are very heavy. The dough is thick and really chewy, and the inside is packed with rich, fatty mutton.
Mutton, which is sheep meat, or sometimes beef.
Right. And then you have suvan, which is this massive plate of fried noodles loaded with even more meat and maybe like 2 tiny pieces of carrot or onion if you're lucky.
And you have to wash it all down with the national drink, right?
Oh, yes. Sute sai. Mongolian milk tea. I really need to warn the listener about this tea.
It's a shock the first time.
It really is. Because when most people hear the words milk tea, they expect a sweet drink. Maybe with sugar or sweet tapioca pearls. Taking your first sip of Mongolian milk tea is like expecting a sweet sugar cookie, but biting into a salty cracker.
Yeah, it is not sweet at all.
Not at all. It's served hot, it's made with cow's milk or sheep's milk, and it is heavily salted. And I was just thinking, if I told my doctor back home that I was eating fatty sheep meat, heavy dough, and drinking salted fat, he would tell me I was going to have a heart attack.
Oh, definitely.
So how is an entire population surviving on a diet that has almost zero fresh vegetables?
Well, you have to look at the biology of survival here. This brings up a really fascinating point about how our environment completely controls what we need to eat.
Okay, how so?
You're thinking like someone who lives in a modern house with an electric heater. But historically, these people are nomads. They live outside in one of the harshest, coldest, and driest climates on the planet.
Right, they're outside riding horses and herding animals in minus 40-degree weather.
Exactly. When your body is fighting freezing winds all day long, eating a light green salad is not going to keep you alive.
No, probably not.
You need intense, slow-burning fuel. The high protein from all that meat repairs their muscles after hard physical work. And the heavy animal fat is really crucial. It acts like a battery.
A battery, right, for energy.
Yes, it gives them dense calories to keep their core body temperature high enough so they don't freeze.
Okay, that makes sense for the meat and fat. But what about the heavy salt in the tea? Why so much salt?
That's because the air out on the Mongolian steppe is incredibly dry. The wind is constant, and it pulls the moisture right out of your skin and your lungs. So drinking that salted tea helps their bodies hold on to water so they don't get dehydrated.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have thought of that.
And since they don't have leafy green vegetables to get vitamins, the animal milk gives them the calcium they need for strong bones.
So it's perfectly balanced for where they live.
Exactly. It's not a diet for sitting at a desk and looking at a computer. It is food that is scientifically perfectly evolved for human endurance.
Food engineered for endurance. I love that way of looking at it. So, okay, you eat your heavy dumplings, you get a good night's sleep at the hostel, and you wake up on day 2. And now the real wild adventure begins.
Yes. This is where you leave the city behind.
You pack up these tough 4x4 off-road vehicles, and you leave Ulaanbaatar, heading south down toward the Middle Gobi region. And reading about this transition, it sounds like one of the most dramatic changes you can experience anywhere.
It really is. It happens so fast.
Because one minute, you're stuck in that chaotic city traffic, surrounded by concrete buildings, breathing in the dusty exhaust. And then you drive for a little while, and slowly the buildings just stop.
They just disappear.
Yeah, and the paved roads just end. And suddenly, you look out the window, and you are just on the steppe. It's this endless ocean of flat green and yellow grass that just stretches all the way to the horizon in every single direction.
And there are no fences. Zero fences.
Right, and the silence, our sources say the silence is absolute. It's a scale of emptiness that the human brain really struggles to process because we're so used to walls and noise.
It really makes you feel tiny.
And right outside your car window, you start seeing the wildlife. Just wild camels, these huge herds of horses, sheep, all just wandering freely across this endless land. But here's the thing I cannot figure out.
How they don't get lost.
Yes, you're driving directly on dirt and grass. There are absolutely no street signs. There are no painted lanes on the ground. I really can only compare it to sailing a small boat on the open ocean. If I were driving that car, I would be completely hopelessly lost in about 5 minutes without a GPS map.
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
So how do the local drivers know where they're going in this giant, endless void?
Well, your ocean analogy is actually perfect here. Just like ancient sailors used to navigate the sea by reading the stars and looking at the ocean currents, these Mongolian drivers read the land.
They read the land.
Right. They don't need street signs because the earth itself is their map. They navigate by looking at the specific shape of a distant mountain or the way a valley dips down or even just the color of the dirt in a certain area.
Wow.
It's this incredible mental map that gets passed down through generations.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
But they also rely on something physical too, right? Something called an ovu.
Yes, the overs. An over is a large cone-shaped pile of rocks and wood. You'll usually see them built up on top of a hill or at a mountain pass.
And they have a spiritual meaning, don't they?
They do. In their traditional shamanistic beliefs, an ovu is a shrine to the spirits of nature. But it also has a highly practical purpose for driving. In a huge landscape where everything kind of looks exactly the same, an ovu is a physical marker.
Like a signpost.
Exactly. When you see it, it tells you, hey, another human has been here and you are on the right path.
And there's a specific etiquette when you drive past one too. You don't just zoom by it.
No. When the drivers approach an ovu, they actually stop the car. You get out, and you're supposed to walk around the pile of rocks 3 times,
3 times.
and always in a clockwise direction. As you walk, you pick up a rock from the ground, and you add your own rock to the pile. It's a way of asking the nature spirits to give you a safe journey.
I love that. It's such a beautiful way of interacting with the landscape instead of just driving a machine straight through it.
It really connects you to the place.
So you're navigating by rock piles and mountain peaks. It really feels like the ultimate freedom. And after hours of driving across this trackless ocean of grass, you finally arrive at the main event of day 2, the Sagan Suvraga Cliffs.
Yes. This is where the landscape shifts from that flat green grass into something that looks like an alien planet.
The visuals described here are unbelievable. You're walking on flat ground, and then suddenly the earth just simply drops away right in front of you. It looks like a giant, jagged crack leading down into some lower world.
That's a massive drop.
And the cliffs are covered in the most brilliant layers of color. Pure white, deep, rusty red, bright orange. It's almost like looking at the rings of a tree that's been chopped down, but on a massive geological scale.
Yeah, every single stripe of color on that rock face represents a totally different era of the Earth's history, all stacked on top of each other.
And the name Sagan Suvraga, what does that mean?
So Sagan means white in Mongolian, and Suvraga means stupa.
A stupa. That's the type of monument, right?
Exactly. It's a traditional Buddhist monument. It has a wide base at the bottom and points up toward the sky. Over time, the harsh wind has carved these rocks into tall, pointed towers. So to the local people, they looked exactly like white Buddhist stupas standing out in the desert.
White stupa. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But the most mind-blowing detail from our sources isn't just the shape of the rocks. It's the history of the ground you're actually walking on.
Oh, this is the best part.
Right. You are standing there in a dry, dusty desert, wiping sweat off your forehead. But millions of years ago, this entire area was the dark, deep bottom of an ancient ocean.
It is so hard for the human brain to process that.
I know. How does an ocean turn into a dry desert cliff? Can you kind of walk us through the mechanics of how that even happens?
Well, it takes millions of years of patience. First, the Earth's climate shifted, and this massive sea slowly dried up over time.
Okay.
And all the mud, the sand, and the different minerals that were sitting at the bottom of the water, they baked in the hot sun and hardened into solid rock.
So that's where the colored stripes come from.
Exactly. The different colors are just different minerals that settled at the bottom of the water over millions of years. Then, once all the water was finally gone, the fierce Mongolian wind took over.
The wind acts like a tool.
Right. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the wind acted like invisible sandpaper. It scrubbed away the softer rock and just left the harder, pointed cliffs standing there.
Wow. It gives you such a profound sense of the scale of time. We usually think of history in, human terms, like maybe a few hundred years or a few thousand years.
Right, like Genghis Khan was 800 years ago.
Exactly. But standing there, looking at a dead ocean, it forces you to think in millions of years. It really shows you that nothing on this planet is permanent. Even a massive, deep ocean full of life could eventually become a dry, dusty cliff carved by the wind.
It definitely makes our everyday human problems feel very, very small.
It really does. So you spend the whole afternoon hiking along the bottom of the cliffs, literally walking on an old seafloor, taking pictures of the rock colors shifting as the sun starts to go down.
It's beautiful light for photos.
And as the evening comes, you head to your accommodation.
Yeah.
Now, you are miles and miles away from any city, so obviously there are no hotels out here. Tonight, you are sleeping at a tourist yurt camp.
And we definitely need to explain what a jur is for anyone who hasn't seen one.
Yes, please do.
So a jur is a traditional round tent that's used by the nomadic families. It's built with a wooden lattice frame on the inside, and the outside is covered in heavy, thick felt made from sheep's wool.
And our sources say the inside is actually incredibly cozy.
Yeah.
You have real beds, thick blankets, and right in the center of the room is a wood-burning iron stove.
Yeah, it's basically the original version of glamping. Glamorous camping.
But this isn't just for fun. This is a design that has kept families alive through centuries of brutal winters. And speaking of that design, why is it perfectly round? Why did the nomads never try to build square tents or wooden cabins?
That is just pure, brilliant engineering. Think about it. If you set up a modern square camping tent out on the Mongolian steppe, the wind is going to hit that flat fabric like a ship's sail, and the poles will just snap.
Oh, right, because it's fighting the wind.
Exactly. The nomads didn't try to build walls strong enough to fight the wind. That's impossible. They built a home that works with the wind.
That's so smart.
The aerodynamic round shape allows those fierce storms to just slip smoothly right around the curve of the walls. And that wooden lattice frame inside is flexible, so the whole structure can actually absorb the shock of the wind without breaking.
Its form and function perfectly matched. And it's completely collapsible too, right? So they can pack it onto camels and move it to find new green grass for their animals.
Yep, they can take it down in an hour.
That's amazing. Now, before you actually walk into your gur for the night, there's some very strict rules of etiquette you need to know.
Oh, yes. This is very important if you want to be a polite, respectful traveler.
So first, when you walk through the door, you must always move to the left. You walk in a clockwise direction around that iron stove in the middle.
Always clockwise.
But the biggest rule is about the doorframe. You must never step on the threshold. That's the raised wooden block at the bottom of the doorframe. You to step completely over it.
Yes. Stepping on the threshold is considered a major insult.
Really? Why is it so serious?
Because in their tradition, the threshold represents the neck of the household's protective spirit. So stepping on it is literally like stepping on the nez of the family itself. It's believed to bring terrible luck into the home.
Oh, wow. You definitely do not want to do that.
No, absolutely not.
So you step carefully over the threshold, you settle into your round room, and night falls. And you realize very quickly that deserts are kind of tricksters.
What do you mean?
Well, it might be hot during the day while you're hiking, but the moment the sun drops below the horizon, the temperature just plummets. It gets so cold.
Oh, yeah. That iron stove in the middle of your dur suddenly becomes your best friend.
You put on a thick sweater, you step outside your tent, and you join the other travelers around a crackling bonfire. You can feel the heat of the fire on your face. You hear the absolute silence of the empty steppe around you. And then you look up.
The night sky out in the Gobi is just world famous.
It is. Because you are hours away from any city, there is zero light pollution. The sky is pitch black, and it is crowded with more stars than you can possibly imagine. You can actually see the Milky Way stretching across the entire sky. It looks like a glowing river of smoke.
It really is deeply magical. It's the perfect way to close the first chapter of this trip.
Let's just pause for a second and recap the sheer contrast you have experienced in just 48 hours. I mean, yesterday, you were dodging right-hand and left-hand drive cars in a freezing, dusty, chaotic city. You were eating dense, fatty mutton to survive the cold.
Yeah.
And today, you left the roads behind entirely. You navigated an endless sea of grass using piles of rocks. You hiked across the floor of a dead ocean, and now you're warming your hands by a fire, sleeping in a round tent designed to defeat the wind.
It is such a profound transition. You've really left the noise of the modern world and stepped right into the deep, unchanging rhythms of the wild.
So, to you listening right now, I have to ask, which part of the adventure calls to you more? Are you drawn to that vibrant, chaotic survival of Ulaanbaatar, where ancient statues are just watching over modern traffic? Or do you crave that silent, endless freedom of the steppe, where there are no roads and no walls?
That is a tough choice. They both test your sense of adventure, just in totally different ways.
They really do. And as we wrap up episode 1 of this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay.
Think about that moment, standing by the bonfire at the Gur camp, looking up at that glowing river of stars. Because there is no artificial city light out there, and because the shape of the empty land hasn't changed, you are looking at the exact same night sky that Genghis Khan looked at 800 years ago.
Oh, wow. That's true.
In Mongolia, history isn't just trapped behind glass in a museum. It's in the salty tea you drink, it's in the endless grass you drive across, and it is burning brightly right above your head.
That is a really beautiful perspective. We'll see you next time for the rest of the journey.
Thanks for listening.